It's the ultimate privilege to be able to beat up, threaten, harass, intimidate and attack women, run them out of a space, then take it over and claim that you're the oppressed ones and claim that you are the ones scared for your lives and that you are the ones that are not being allowed to speak. That is top level gaslighting. Amazing. I've drank at least 4 cups of tea for this one. Alright everyone, I want to talk to you about what happened this weekend at Kellie-Jay Keen's Let Women Speak event in New Zealand. Some of you may have seen it on the news being dishonestly reported as an anti-trans protest. I really sort of hate that narrative, and I actually personally think that narratives like that being in the mainstream press is part of the reason that the violence towards women has really ramped up. I'm going to start by saying that the idea that being pro-women's rights and pro-child safeguarding and generally acknowledging what a man and a woman is somehow anti-anything is completely ludicrous. The idea that women wanting to talk about their lived experiences as women or what it's like to be a woman and what womanhood entails and how this integrates with the cultural significance of protecting women's rights in law is somehow taking something away from other people who call themselves trans. It's completely absurd. It's an idea that should be actually treated as an absurdity. Politicians and people in positions of power are taking these stupid ideas seriously. You know, like the idea that a man can magically turn into a woman somehow, but, you know, nobody quite knows how, but he says he's a woman, so he must be. That sort of stupid idea is the reason we're in this sort of mess. And now we're in a situation where women gathering up to speak in public, just to speak about being a woman, just to talk to each other about being a woman, is seen as some sort of far-right, anti-trans protest, sort of like this dangerous thing that's happening. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's so dishonest, it's so disingenuous that the mainstream media, journalists and anybody who propagates this narrative has a lot to answer for. So let's start at the beginning. Kellie-Jay Keen went to Australia. I think I'm going to make a separate video about that because there's a lot to cover. But she went to Australia and New Zealand. Initially, she did have a bit of trouble trying to get into Australia and New Zealand. I think the authorities in both countries were threatening not to let her in, which is another absurdity. In Australia, there was more of the usual pushback from these ideologically insane lunatics. Where the escalation really happened and it got really scary was in New Zealand. I woke up on Saturday morning and the first thing I saw was this. I've been absolutely furious at the way Kellie-Jay Keen was treated. I just don't get it. I mean, her only sin really is to say that women are adult human females, which they are, by the way. It's true. I'm not going to stand by and let telling the truth become a crime. I also won't stand by and let attacking women and beating up women and violence against women become acceptable. That's what this movement is about. This movement is about forcing people to comply by any means necessary. And you need to get your head around that. You need to realise this is serious. You can actually see men climbing over each other to try to get to Kellie-Jay Keen. And she's not a big woman. I've met her in real life. She's like a little, Dobby Polly Pocket. She's great. It's just a shocking sight to see these men actually trying to climb over each other to grab at her. And as you'll see in the pictures, some of them are wearing shin guards on their arms and stuff. So they mean to do damage with this. They're not here for a peaceful protest. There's a big difference between a peaceful protest and what we've seen here. I see that Kellie-Jay Keen had soup thrown on her and various other things were thrown at her. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts how violent these men are. And I say men, I know there's women in the crowd and there's women shouting and there's women that are angry and there's women that are egging people on. But who are the violent ones here? Because I only see the men lashing out. I only see the men climbing over other men to try to get to this woman. These men in this video are dedicating their lives to fighting the law and attacking women in order to gain access to female-only spaces, such as female-only rape crisis shelters where vulnerable women who have been traumatised by men will be housed, or changing rooms, such as swimming pool changing rooms where young girls and teenage girls might be undressing and they're vulnerable. These men are fighting for that right, which I don't think is a right. And the women with them are supporting them. You might have your mind blown by the fact that there's women out there that do this, but there are women out there that don't like women. These are the women that say,
oh, there's no difference between men and women. None at all, we're both exactly the same.
But they won't take the bins out at home because they think that's their job for their husband. They won't get a job going around in the lorries at 5 in the morning picking up bins. You know, these are the women that won't get a job on a construction site. So they know what a man and a woman is, right? This is all performative so that they can be seen as good people. And I think some of it comes from narcissism. I think we've bred really insidious form of narcissism and they've gone insane with it. And I think some of those women are like that. They're feeding their own ego, they're fueling their own narcissism, they're getting their own satisfaction from being able to rally against other women because they get to say they're a good person. And this is something that has happened throughout time as well, like throughout human history. People wonder how people can just follow the crowd. People do, man. This is what people do. I just think this particular brand of madness is fueled by narcissism. That's my personal opinion. I could change my opinion at any time. This is just my thought today. I think this goes for the narcissistic mothers too, who bring their own children into this ideology and then force them to take experimental drugs that could potentially sterilise them for life from an age that they cannot possibly consent. Some of these narcissistic mothers even take their abuse of their children as far as coercing them to undergo surgical amputation of healthy body parts. There are narcissistic mothers out there who are more than happy to offer up their own children as flesh sacrifices to the gender gods for a lifetime subscription at the altar of Big Pharma. What the mother gets out of this is the virtue of being the mother of a so-called trans child, which is the ultimate sacred prize. So that video went everywhere, that was viral obviously, and you can see the shot on Kellie-Jay's face, and I saw some trans activists obviously gloating. You know, for me the worst thing about this is how gleeful the activists are. They're not one bit ashamed of themselves for like climbing over each other to try to attack this woman. They're not one bit ashamed of themselves for holding up signs saying suck my or off nuts or you're not welcome in my country. Not one bit of shame, not one iota of embarrassment. There's nothing from them. They're proud of it. This is how deranged they've got, right? You've got to be deranged to protest women gathering to talk about their right and hold a sign saying suck my and think that you're on the right side of history and that everyone's going to feel sorry for you because you're so oppressed. They've got no empathy. For a bunch of people that go on about love and kindness all the time and how you've got to be compassionate and have empathy, they really do lack it themselves. They really don't have the ability to put themselves in somebody else's shoe, because otherwise when they saw that look on Kellie-Jay's face, they would have felt guilty, but instead they gloated. This is like what Dennis Kavanagh said, the 3 stages of the end of gender.
This feels to me like the end of gender. I think the end of gender has 3 stages: the flight of the cowards, the howl of the zealots, and the prosecution of the monsters.
And I really think we're at the howl of the zealots. This really is like the final cry of people who are losing. Just giving it that one big effort, shout as loud as they can and try and intimidate women as much as they can and hit women and beat women up as much as they can to try to silence her. Because do you know what? We are winning. Reality always comes back around, right? These sort of like madness of crowd eras that humanity keeps going through, like the witch trials and the satanic panic and things like that, we always snap out of it as a society. So I'm hopeful this is not a doom and gloom video. I'm hopeful that we're going to snap out of it. Another thing I saw was this video, absolutely outrageous. This video of the oh so oppressed, oh so frightened for their lives, most oppressed people on the planet, the peaceful, loving, the Be Kind Brigade, who just want to live their lives in peace. Let's have a look. This will come back to haunt them because the internet is forever and these videos are always going to be out there. What are they going to say when they go home to their mums, or what are they going to say to their sisters or their aunts or their nans about it? Like when they're seen on the news kicking down barriers and screaming at women trying to attack them, what are they going to say to the women in their lives? It really says a lot about these guys that they cannot have a debate. They can't have a discussion, they can't have a conversation, they can't even have a row about this. They can't even have an argument. It has to be straight to the threat, straight to the accusation, straight to the name calling, violence, intimidation, bullying. It has to be that way because they haven't got an argument. They haven't got an answer as to why only women can give birth. They haven't got an answer as to why no man has ever had a period. They haven't got an answer as to why only women are at risk of developing diseases like PCOS. They haven't got an answer as to why it is every single person on this planet came out of the womb of a woman. Sorry to break it to you guys, but you did not come out of the bumhole of a man. Nobody has. They don't have an argument for any of this. That's why they resort to violence. People like Kellie-Jay Keen, all the women who go to the Let Women Speak event, people like me, I could debate this all day long because I know what a man and a woman is. It's the most boring hill, but I ain't going to watch my rights go down the pan. I ain't going to watch children be sterilised and have their lives ruined over this bullshit. That's crazy. They ain't got an argument. That's why they have to resort to violence. Like a bunch of spoiled brat toddlers. Have you ever seen a tired, hungry toddler? They ain't got an argument either. That's why you have to put them to bed. Another video I wanted to show you is this woman who also went viral on Saturday morning. I found her video very compelling. I thought it was really heartfelt. And she explains that she was there to hear Kellie-Jay out. She wanted to hear these women. And she met with a man who identifies as a woman. She made a really good point about how his right to hear this speaker and to hear these women was also taken away. Not just the women's rights to speak, the right to people to listen was also stripped from them by these lunatic activists.
I'm home, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I haven't processed this yet. The most disappointing thing that I came across is I met two trans women today who came to listen to Posey speak. They were going to speak to me after they had listened to her, but they wanted to hear from her themselves. The activists took away not just women's chance to speak, but trans women's chance to listen. And I, for one, appreciate all the men in these comments standing up for our women. Women like me who were come at by men. Women like me who had barriers thrown at them by men. To be told that trans women have more rights than I do as a woman. Trans rights are human rights apparently. Well, what about women's rights? What about everyone's rights? Apparently in society only a small section of it get rights. What about my rights? I went there in peace. I went there willing to have conversations. Nobody would converse with me. Why? Because they were too busy screaming in my face and throwing barriers around.
It really got to me when she said that why are trans women being put above women like me? The reason that got to me is because that's one of the first things that comes to your mind when you first wake up to what's going on. I don't know what this woman's backstory is, but it is one of the first things that I remember thinking is, hang on a minute, how come these men are women, but I'm a bleeder, menstruator, ovary haver, womb wearer, an incubator, a cervix owner? Why am I all these degrading stupid names, but these men who are attacking women like me are women. It just don't make no sense, and it doesn't make sense that they're put above us in every regard, and it's becoming more and more apparent that that really is what's happening, because I remember shouting about this in 2017 and people were calling me a conspiracy theorist and a lunatic and saying that none of this is happening.
I can't see it. I read The Guardian every day and The Guardian don't tell me none of this is happening, so it can't be happening.
People are starting to wake up to it because they're seeing it creep into their own life, and they're seeing it on the news. They're seeing the news reporting that there's anti-trans protesters, and then they're seeing clips of men trying to beat women up. It doesn't add up, okay? When we're being told not to believe our lying eyes, it ain't gonna work forever. The other interesting thing that happened is trans activists initially were gloating, celebrating what's been happening, really sort of like having a chuckle about it.
Great work, boys, taught these women and left them. Well done, boys.
And as time's starting to go on, people are starting to realise this doesn't look good. So now the trans activists are pretending that the videos, the photos are fake. Which is great because it just shows the extent to which they're willing to lie, because truth doesn't matter. If a person can say that a man can become a woman or that a woman can become a man and that everybody else has to go along with it, why on earth would that person give a shit about the truth? J.K. Rowling had something to say about the fact that we're being accused of lying about this, even though there's videos. There are multiple videos of Kellie-Jay being assaulted. Women have become used to lies, threats of violence, and outright denial of reality. But if you imagine anyone feels defeated, think again. Your men's rights activists showed the world exactly who they are. Let women speak. The most disturbing part to me is this video clip of a 70-year-old woman being battered in the face. I mean, she got punched in the face by this man. I can't get my head around why that is acceptable. I've never seen a human rights movement where the motto is suck my these boots stomp turfs and decapitate turfs, which was a sign that was held in Scotland earlier this year. It's not going to work. And I've never seen a human rights movement where it's acceptable to punch ladies in the face. They don't look like the kind people to me. This lady, she ended up with 2 black eyes, as you can see in the picture, and was taken to hospital by an ambulance. I hope that woman's okay. That's not going to be nice to recover from. Now, I want you all to look at this video clip, and then I want you to look at this picture. And if you recognise this man, please contact the police. I don't think he should get away with it. I think he should be locked away. I think a man like that punching out a 70-year-old woman, and he had to be dragged off of her, by the way. He would not have stopped. That's crazy. That's crazy behaviour. There's just no need for it. I want this image and I want this clip to go viral. I want this man to be found, and I want him to be arrested, and I want him to be held accountable. You know, like how we're all told that we have to be held accountable for knowing what a woman is. He needs to be held accountable for punching a 70-year-old woman in the face the way he did. What's he battering her in the face for? Because she knows what a woman is. What's it to do with him? What is it to do with him? Why are these men so upset? Do you know one thing they keep telling her?
This doesn't affect you. This has nothing to do with you. This has no effect on you.
Well, do you know what? Women knowing what a woman is doesn't affect you. It has no effect whatsoever on men. Think about that for a moment. Think about what these men want. Because it ain't the right to put on some Lippian dresses. They can already do that. Nobody gives a shit about a man in lipstick. Because people have been able to do that for years. So that ain't it. What is it? What is it they want? I know what they want. Power, compliance. They want us to obey them. They want to be able to tell us to worship them. They want us to treat them like gods. That's what they want. And they want to be able to get away with violence, aggression, attacking women and children, elderly women, elderly men. They want to get away with it because they're bullies and they're cowards. They're tyrants. They're authoritarian. And if anything is close to fascism, it'll be this. It's making people go along with something that they know isn't true under threat of violence. Don't let them get away with it. This ain't going to carry on. It says a lot that these guys, predominantly men, and there are women, but I would say mostly young men, that these guys ran Kellie-Jay Keen and the other women out of the space using violence, intimidation and threat. They ran the women out of that space, and then they took the space over and had a let trans speak event where nobody, not one single person protested them, threatened them, intimidated them, or tried to commit violence on them. Not one person attacked them, not one person called them names, not one person shouted at them, not one person held up signs saying suck my. And to me, that says everything. It's the ultimate privilege to be able to beat up, threaten, harass, intimidate and attack women, run them out of a space, then take it over and claim that you're the oppressed ones, and claim that you are the ones scared for your lives and that you are the ones that are not being allowed to speak. That is top level gaslighting. Amazing. Kellie-Jay Keen had some more Let Women Speak events planned. The police were not going to ensure her safety, so she made the decision to come home. I think it was the right call. I think that her safety is imperative and the safety of other women is imperative. And I know it's the right thing to do to leave the scene of violence. I also wanted to show you a slip of Kellie-Jay trying to leave the scene. There is a man in front of Kellie-Jay trying to protect her, and there's a drag queen dude punching his lights out, trying to beat him up. It's like, what are these people thinking? What has empowered them? Why do they feel entitled to beat people up for not believing in their religion? Do you know what created this? Politicians, doctors, scientists, nurses, teachers, journalists, all of these people in the mainstream media, social media outlets, pretending that this religion is legitimate and that everybody has to obey it. It's people not saying no. These people feel entitled to behave this way because not enough people say no to them. At some point, everybody has to say no to this, because I know there's more people out there who think this is bollocks, who don't actually believe people can change sex because they know you can't. But they're trying to be respectful, they're trying to be nice. But you know what? You've got to say no. Where's your line? Is your line at punching a 70-year-old woman in the face? Or does it take more than that? Is your line at autistic children and gay and lesbian teenagers being sterilised? Is that your line? Is your line at people like J.K. Rowling receiving death rape threats publicly? Is your line at ordinary people like me and my partner losing our livelihoods? Is that your line? Where is your line? You need to think about that, and you need to decide where your line is going to be, and you need to speak up, because do you know what? This ain't going to get better if people don't say something. This is wrong, and it's okay to say it's wrong. Don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty for saying this is wrong. Don't feel like you're a bad person. Don't listen to these idiots calling you a racist, homophobe, Nazi, fascist, transphobe. Don't listen to those words. They get thrown at people like us to shut us up and make us scared to say anything, and you shouldn't fall for it because it ain't right. So keep your chin up, keep your head up, speak up for yourself. Don't let people bully you. Don't let people push you around about this. If anything comes up at work and people pressuring you to try and participate in these stupid DI things, these diversity, inclusion, equity, mandated sort of struggle sessions, seek help. Talk about it. Find people like me. I'll put you in touch with people that can help you. Write to your boss about this. Well, there's loads of us out there that are willing to help you, to talk to your family or your friends, just to allow you to have that freedom to say that a spade is a spade, that the sky is blue, that water is wet, that 2 and 2 equals 4. Speak up for yourself. Don't be bullied, because we seem to be turning a corner in the UK, and I really want that for the women in Australia and New Zealand. I have a lot of hope, and I don't think you should be discouraged by what happened this weekend. What happened this weekend, in a way, is a blessing in disguise, because so many people around the world can now see this for what it is, and it's ideologically insane. Majority men attacking women. That's what this is. This is authoritarians. This is people who believe that they have the right to force you to go along with their views. They believe that they have the right to force you into their religion. or at the very least to force you to pretend to comply with their religion. They believe they have this right, and people are starting to see this for what it is. People are starting to look at this situation and go, well, hang on a minute, why is that man beating that woman up? Why are they chucking soup on these women? Why won't they just let women have a little talk? How come they get to have a talk but women don't? People are starting to notice. We're not going to shut up. I'm not going to shut up. Kellie-Jay Keen ain't going to shut up. She ain't going to lose. We're not going to lose. I just want to say to the women in Australia and New Zealand, don't lose heart. Don't lose hope. This is the beginning. It's not the end. It's only just started, mate. The whole world is seeing this for what it is.
Being courageous, saying the things that need to be said when you need to say them. That is the courage required to save the world and save anything you care about. I categorically never, ever, ever, ever lose.
See you later.
Woman.